I'm back, and I'm doing the mid-year freak out book tag. I don't know where the original video came from, but everybody does it, so I'm gonna do it too. I did it last year, but it was on my Instagram, so if you want a link to that, I'm gonna link it down in the drop box below. So without further ado, let's get started. So, the best book of 2019. I'm gonna have to go with Daisy Jones and the Six. I read this 3 times, and it is phenomenal, and I love it. And also, I got it signed because I went to the book signing in New York City at the place. I got to meet Emma, which was awesome. I also got to meet Taylor Jenkins Reid, and she also signed my copy of Daisy Jones and no, not Daisy Jones and the Six, the Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. So, this book has been floating around BookTube forever now. So, if you haven't picked it up, you definitely should. This book was phenomenal. It gave me a lot of like Led Zeppelin, Janis Joplin vibes. Like, I pictured Daisy in my head, not as this character, but I pictured her as Janis Joplin. So yeah, definitely highly recommend this book. Okay, the most anticipated books for the second half of the year. I have 3 of them. The third book in the Safe series, which is called The Toll. I'll leave a photo on the top here. Then I'm waiting for Supernova, which is the 3rd and final book in the Renegades trilogy. And then this is kind of like a group cluster, but I'm really looking forward to the Avatar: The Last Airbender comics and Legend of Korra comics, because I'm trash for that series, so I just have to continue reading on, and they'll always be getting my money. So, the next book on my list is the best sequel. I'm gonna go with The Devil's Thief. The Last Magician just blew me away. And I absolutely adored it, and I had to get the next book on. I just had to. I went down to Barnes & Noble, and I got the exclusive edition too, which is signed, which is awesome. I'll just show you right there. It's signed, and it's great. But pick up this series if you haven't already. I've mentioned it in my video of if you love Harry Potter, you'll love this series, but it stands on its own, and it's phenomenal. Hold on just one. So, we're going to be talking about some books that disappointed me so far this year. And the first one that disappointed me was The Brightest by Helen Hahn. I read the first book in the series, which is called Kiss Quotient, which was a very complex and really sweet story. This one, I kind of fell flat for me. Right now my mom's currently reading it. I lent it to her because she always loves whatever book recommendations I give to her. So, I'm letting her to read this now. But she hasn't read Kiss Quotient yet because I don't have a copy of that. But after the hype of Kiss Quotient, this kind of fell a little short for me. I still gave it 4 stars, 3.5 stars. Yeah, so kind of fell a little bit short for me after the hype of the first book. But that's besides the point. Then I have 2 other books that disappointed me, which kind of go hand in hand. I should know my reading taste, but I gave them a chance because everybody loved them. But I'm not a big fan of historical fiction novels, especially that take place during World War II, because they kind of all seem the same to me. So I was kind of disappointed by Salt to the Sea and The Nightingale. I'm sorry, they disappointed me. I gave them 3 stars. They had excellent writing though, but the context bored me to pieces. I put on the audiobook for The Nightingale. I fell asleep and I fell asleep through the whole thing. It couldn't keep my attention. It just felt like it was dragging on and on and on and on. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people love these novels. Hate me all you want. But they were just disappointing to me. And I'm sorry if they're your favorite books. Hey, that's your reading taste. Me? No, thank you. I just won't read them. Sorry. So, but as the biggest surprise to me is The Breathtaker. This is a murder mystery that takes place during a tornado or after a tornado. It takes place in one of the Midwestern states, and one of the serial killer's MOs is the serial killer goes to a town that's based where a tornado just hit and kills victims, but uses the cover-up of a tornado so it doesn't look like they've been killing people. I was a little iffy on the concept, but I was completely sold because I'm trash for anything that has any meteorological twist or anything in the story. And boy, I was surprised. I loved it. This book was originally supposed to be 50 cents from my local library, which they sell used books. But I didn't have 50 cents on me. I only had a quarter. The teller just gave me the book for nothing. So I was like, yes! They were closing, all that stuff. But I'm a little nitpicky because I wanted to study meteorology as a career. I didn't though. I'm only a little nitpicky because the Fujita scale is a little wrong. They're using the old text or the old Fujita scale versus the enhanced Fujita scale. But in this book's defense, it was published before they before they reorganized the Vegeta scale. So that's my only critique about it, but it's basically like a thriller mixed with Twister, and I adored this book. I gave it 5 stars. But I went into it without any expectations, and it just blew me away. Pick it up if you haven't. The story's great. There's a lot of borderline, like, concepts going on in the back and whatnot, but this is good. If you love thrillers and suspense, this got your number coming. Then my new favorite author of the year, or new favorite author to me, I read 2 books by her this year already, which is the only books that she has out, and it's Sally Thorne. I have read 99% Mine, and I have read, what's the other one? The Hating Kate, which, granted, they have romance tropes in it, but when you're in the mood for that romance tropes, it's just like eating a nice juicy peach. It's satisfying. 99% Mine. A set of twins grow up next door to their childhood friend, and she's been in love with him for years, and then a whole bunch of chaos ensues and all that whatnot. Really, really good. And then the hating game basically goes from haters to lovers, and it's phenomenally told. And I read both of these books on audiobook. except halfway through 99% Mine, I had to pick up the ebook because my time was running out on my Overdrive app. But I picked it up. I own it. I love it. It's great. So, if you haven't read those yet, you should totally read them. They're great. They're amazing. So, next thing on my list is my new favorite character. I'm gonna have to go with Hannah from Maybe in Another Life. Holy smokes, this character going through what she went through, and it's phenomenal. She is a great character. A lot of great character development. Like I said, and how the story is told is basically from one moment, like, depending on your decision is how your life will go and fan out. So you got two alternate realities being told at the same time. And I fell in love with both versions of Hannah. It was phenomenal. And she's one of my new favorite characters. So yes. Alrighty. New favorite crush of mine. I'm gonna have to go with Daxton Hughes from Meet Cute, which is a book I just recently read. I'm gonna give you a quick, little synopsis here. Long story short, two people meet in college. They're rivals. They don't see each other for 5 years, and then they meet each other again, going over his sister's will and stuff, like money and whatnot. His parents tragically die, leaving his sister orphaned, so he has to end up taking care of his sister. But there's so much depth and greatness to his character. Like, he has to step in from a brother role, not being around because there's a big age gap, to basically becoming this father figure, and it's great. And Daxton Hughes is a great character. So pick that up if you haven't. Books that a book that made me happy. I'm gonna go with The Fire and High. This made me giddy like a kid in a candy store. Let me just tell you this much. Not to mention, this cover is gorgeous. Look at that. Look at that. Like, seriously, come on. Like, whoever decided to go with this design, oh, perfection. Anyways, hold on one moment, I'm just putting sleep back on. This book made me extremely happy for multiple reasons. For one, the art style, the cover, gorgeous design. I have been craving a book for the longest time that deals with the student in a culinary program, because I, like myself, am a culinary arts graduate. That's what I went to school for. I have my associates in that, so I love to cook. And when she cooked a recipe, like, I could vividly picture everything in my head, like from what she added to the pot. And, like, for example, if she sauteed something in like a certain oil and stuff, I, as a culinary student, can actually smell or even taste on my taste buds the aromas and everything that was coming from this book. But I'm going off on a tangent here, but this book made me extremely happy. Extremely, extremely happy. So, With the Fire and High, pick it up if you haven't already. And then, books that made me cry like crazy. Alright. Taylor Jenkins Reid takes the cake for making me cry. I have quite a few of them here, and then I have a few others also. But Daisy Jones and the Six, Maybe in Another Life, One True Loves, and Forever Interrupted. These 4 made me cry so bad, especially Forever Interrupted. Let me just get started with just the quick synopsis of Forever Interrupted, right? Okay. Forever Interrupted, the starting scene of this book is a newlywed couple are happily living in their apartment. Our main character, Elsie, wants some Fruity Pebbles because she's having a craving for Fruity Pebbles, and her doting new husband of less than a week decides to go get her the Fruity Pebbles, and he gets killed while getting her the Fruity Pebbles, and she comes across the scene of the crime of death with the Fruity Pebbles all in the ground, and from that moment on, I just was like, oh my god, my heart. I'm getting tears about it right now. But Forever Interrupted pulled me by my heartstrings. And this one, because of all the stuff that she has to go through, I'm not going to say much more about it. And then this one, the choice between 2 different true loves. The story starts off with our main character getting married and all that stuff. She's married for a year. Her husband goes off on a trip and goes missing on a deserted island. And then it's 3 or 4 years later, and he comes back into her life after being away for a while. And she's got to make a choice between who she was with before, but she's changed and she's with someone else because her husband was presumed dead. Holy smokes, heartstring city here. And then Daisy Jones and the Six, of course, because of the conflict and all that stuff. But yes. Then I also have Meet Cute, which is the book that I just mentioned. I'll leave a little picture up here. The whole complexity of that story where our main character Daxton has to take care of his sister and step into the parental role when he was a distant brother, only would come around when it would be holidays and whatnot because he was so much older than his sister. But anyways, that made me bawl like a baby, and you should pick it up if you haven't. And then also, one other book that made me cry like a baby would have to be Like a Love Story. Came out in June. I read it last month with my friend Misha from Instagram. We're friends. We do buddy reads together. And she picked this book out for the month because we alternate choosing novels on what we want to read. And it was her time to choose. She's like, since it's, hey Court, since it's LGBTQ plus, I'm sorry if I butchered that, but she's like, it's Pride Month, it's all that, why don't we read a book that deals with Pride? And I was like, okay, I'm down for that. I'm always down to read anything, like, I don't mind reading much, except if it's historical fiction or I don't know. Yeah, if it's historical fiction or something in that regard, I'm just like, no thank you. I don't want to read that. But I picked up Like a Love Story. I was tearing like most of the way through the halfway of the book because one of the main characters deals with AIDS and all that, and it's a tearjerker and everything like that. So pick up like a love story if you haven't already. Then my favorite book to film adaptation is going to be for the book 5 Feet Apart. It's the I think it's the only book this year that I've read that became a film, because I haven't been really reading many book to film adaptations recently. I've just been like coasting by, like, reading what I feel like reading. I don't read books that are kind of in the loop right now for what's in theaters. So yes, 5 Feet Apart. The book was great. The adaptation is great too, and has great representation of the people who are dealing with the illness. So yeah, definitely pick it up if you haven't already. All right. Then, my favorite review written for a book that I've read so far this year will have to be for Avatar: The Last Airbender comics, the first one in the new set of comics, which is Imbalance Part 1. I wrote an extended review, and it's just Avatar comics. It was the first book that I read for the month, of the year actually. And you start to see how the bridge is starting to come together from the Avatar: The Last Airbender series and the Korra series. How the two of them are starting to become a cohesive story. Because yes, both stories are set within the same universe, but they have their own like niches and everything. But what they're really trying to do is to combine them together. Like, for instance, you start to see Republic City in its early stages of development after the war. You see the island where eventually Katara and Aang are going to be when they have their children. And you see Toph starting the police force, and it's just it's made me so extremely happy. The most beautiful books given to me. So, I have. This is a funny story, okay? All these books and I share a birthday. Okay? We share a birthday. And I got these books for my birthday. Because my birthday is May 7th. All these books were published on May 7th. I even got this one signed on my birthday as well. But these are also beautiful books. Like, with the Fire on High, like I showed you before how beautiful that one is. And then, again, but better, it's got a freaking watermelon on it. Like, really? Like, but these have been gifted to me for my birthday over the last, like, 2 months almost. But yes, happy birthday to me. These are just gorgeous. I love them. And yeah. So, new release I haven't gotten to yet, but I want to get to. I'm gonna go with Nexus. It's been on my shelf for a while, ever since I got it on May 7th, because I went to the signing. I read Zenith like twice, and I really, really have to get my hands on this. And it's on my TBR for the biannual Bibliothon, so I'm gonna try to get through it this month. Books, books that I want to read by the end of the year. Well, of course, the 3 books I want to read are on my own most anticipated list, which is The Toll, Supernova, and then all the remaining Avatar: The Last Airbender comics and books that are coming out the rest of this year. Then I have Reaper at the Gates, which I really want to get to. It's not the last book, but it's the most recent book in the series. I think like the 4th one is coming out next year. So I want to get to Reaper at the Gates. I'm actually reading it this month with my friend Nisha from Instagram. So we got Reaper at the Gates. We got, I want to get to Unholy, Unsold, and Undivided by the end of the year. I want to get to The Darkest Legacy by the end of the year. As well as A Wise Man's Fear. Oops, as I hit myself in the face. As well as A Wise Man's Fear. And hold on one moment. Sorry about that, I just had to grab them. But I want to get to the what is it? The Iron Fae series. I have this whole box set. It's so beautiful. I got it for my birthday a couple years ago. But I want to get to them. So I want to get to those. The Iron Fae series. So that's on my list too. As well as, this also is one of the most beautiful sets I bought myself this year. I think that's question 12 or 13. 13, yes, 13. I want to get to the rest of this series, which I read the 5th season, but I kind of lost a little bit of it. So I want to reread the 5th season, and then I want to read the Obelisk Gate and the Stone Sky. So I plan to get to these. And that's it for my mid-year freak out tag. Thank you so much for watching, and have a good day. Bye!